So today we're going to be working on a deadlift jack. I made one a while back, just a proof of concept. I found one they had for sale and I think it was in the UK. So figured I'd make one similar to it, being that there's no measurements out there. Kind of had to eyeball it and wing it. So I made my first one as kind of a proof of concept, make sure it works so I can get the rough measurements. And then for the second one, I decided I'll make a tutorial on it. Just a quick, cheap, easy, compact deadlift jack. So here's the current one that I'm going to be working with. So this is the current deadlift jack. It's made out of 2 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood that I just screwed together. Works pretty well. I will add in another strip at the bottom here, so it has more support to keep it from tipping as easily. But once it's got the weight on it, I haven't had any issues for tipping. So I'm grabbing a piece of scrap cardboard here, and I'll draw out the new one, make a couple adjustments, and I can trim it down with a razor blade. Once I got the sizing just right, transfer that, basically stencil to plywood. So we got the stand or jack on sheet of cardboard. Just barely cut it big enough. So we'll trace this one and work on getting this part a little fatter while maintaining a decent angle in the handle. Keep in mind this thing has lifted 635 pounds loaded on the deadlift bar. So, half of that essentially is balanced on this little end here. But it's handled it pretty well. Haven't had any issues. So I'm baking this new one out of Baltic birch again. It's a hardwood plywood. There's a lot more ply in it. It tends to be straighter. Doesn't bow as much. Also, more layers are generally substantially stronger. It's also, like I said, it's a hardwood plywood. The only thing I'm not a fan of is the Baltic birch has a very thin veneer layer. I generally prefer using Russian birch because all the layers are about 1 millimeter thick. Even the outside veneer layer is the same thickness. But unfortunately, this time of the year, with COVID and everything else, it has become pretty much impossible to pick up 3/4 inch sheets of Russian birch. So I'm basically building this out of scrap plywood that I have laying around. I do have Russian birch, but it's only 1/2 inch plywood, and I don't feel like dealing with that many layers. I do have smaller pieces of Russian birch laying around, but nothing big enough to make 2 layers out of. So we're going to be working with the Baltic birch this time. Again, maybe I'll make a third one later on, but so far I think it's held up really well. So I'll do that out of this one. This is going to be a little bit more stable than the one I built already. So we'll work with that, and if I find any issues with it, I'll build another one again. So here we're going to trace out this one currently. So I have essentially a stencil to work with. Let's see, something like that. A little bit wider, keeping the same width profile, which worked out pretty well here. So work on that. Let's cut it out, see if we like it, and then if it looks good once it's cut out, we'll work on transferring this to the plywood and cutting that out. Alright, so I'm going to try to make a new cardboard outline based on the measurements that I provided to make sure it's legible and it actually works having these measurements. So I'll try to drop a new one, and then basically it would be the same way you guys would be doing them if you decide to follow this exact plan. So basically I'm going to do what you guys are going to be doing if you guys want to build this jack. Alright, so use this for reference and grab a new piece of plywood. Start with pretty much kind of a square edge and shoot for, let's see, 8 3/4 inch. So 221. Of course, this one's. I have a metric square, so I will be doing the metric measurements on this one. All right, 221, about right there. So that'll be this edge right here on the outside edge. All right, got that. Then we want to go 204 millimeters wide. So let's go from here, and that up there. So 204. Mark there. And that's going to be 204 millimeters tall as well. So flat, not left-handed, so this will be interesting. All right, there's 204. Let's see, where's the next measurement? So that goes in 6.5 inches from the wall. We're going to work on this part right here. So I'll get this peak in. So 167 millimeters. So line that up to that one. Square it up real quick. So 167 right there. So there's 167. Got the width. Let's see. Height. There is 270. So I got internally lined up to there. There's 270 right here. So make that mark there. So that's the peak. That. And that's 1.5 inches in. So let's see. Line it up to that edge. So 1.5 is 42 millimeters. So that's 35. Let's see. Just to be sure. .42 drops about right here. So there. And from here we're going to run these swoop, the dip, if you want to call it. All right. Let's see. So here we need the overall length is 483 millimeters. So we'll find that point. So 483 is right about there. Let's get a couple. 483. 483. Line those guys up. Okay. Top of the handle's right around there. Let's see. That's a measurement I should get that I don't have on here. So let's line this up to that edge. Put that mark right here. So from there to that point is going to be 78 millimeters. Let's see. 78 millimeters. That's makes it just over 3 inches, a hair over 3 inches. All right. Yeah. So we'll just go with 3 inches. All right. So make that mark there, line that up. So 78 can be about right here. All right, we'll square this up to the top, line it up there. There's the handle. There. Perfect. So we got the outside edge of the handle. There. So that's right here. Now, from here to here is a measurement. Well, let's see. From there to the bottom is 368 millimeters, 14 and a half inches. So, of course, this one's not long enough. So, 368, just right here. So you got 368 there. Now from here, we can take these two and just line them up. Alright, so got that part. Now this is 2 inches wide, 50 millimeters. Let's see, and this is 50 millimeters. So we'll make a couple of marks at 50 and line it all up. And connect the dots. Just have it so it's square. Line it up to there. And we're just going to connect the dots. Marker's a little fat.
So this area here isn't super critical. You kind of just adjust as needed. So get these, line these guys up. And then just connect the lines. Here up is 483 millimeters. So this is, it's about 40, just over 40 millimeters, so 42. So that makes it good. So 21 is about the center. Make a mark right there. Perfect. So we have a center point. And then 483 millimeters high. Right. Let me double check that. Now 483 is overall length. That's the wrong spot. 247 millimeters. I was looking at the wrong one. So 247. 247. Now, since that'll be internal, 240. So you can get that. Alright, so about right there's the bottom. And let's see if I gotta just make a swoop in here. Should have a 1.5-inch hole saw. I can use that to make that mark. And that'll finish that. Then we'll round off this bottom corner. We can do this, just kind of draw a little swoop. And this is going to make it easier to roll it up, because you pull, slide it under, pull it back. So you have the flat corner, 90 corner in the back, rounded corner, get it under the bar, pull it, roll it, and it stops. So that will be that swoop there. But if you have a 1.5-inch hole saw, we could draw that out. Or something that's about 1.5 inches. Just make a round. We just do it by hand, honestly. And then we'll clean it up with the bandsaw. So, but say you don't have an 1.5-inch hole saw. Let's just connect the dots. Perfect. So here we have our outline based on the measurements that are there. I will type these up and add these to the description. I'll probably have a image attached of this cutout, so you guys can reference it, print it out, and then kind of reference it from there. I will make a much neater drawing, so you guys can follow along a little bit easier on that. But now we got our main cutout. We round off all the corners, make them look pretty, but we cut it out. So here we have the new deadlift jack stencil cut out on the cardboard. So roll it back, swoop under the bar. The bar is right here. Takes it back and it lifts it up. So here, lining up the fence to the height of the jack, and then we'll cut it. Next, we're going to set the width to the width. So we got the two boards. This is going to be the thickness. We're going to screw these two together, and then we'll run it through the bandsaw. Then we'll get all of our cuts out of here, and then we'll trim it with the sandpaper and sanding. These are going to go on the bottom on each side. So, whereas this will be about 1.5 inches thick, this will take it to about 3 inches. Sorry. But now I can line this guy up so I know where I'm going to put my screws. So I got all the holes countersunk, and I'm going to use 1.25 inch torque screws. So these boards are nice and sandwiched together now. Now we'll just trace the outline onto our board. We got an outline, so we'll trim that up on the bandsaw.
Here's my bandsaw is just a little bit too weak to really cut through it, so I'm going to have to, looks like, switch to doing it by hand, and a combination of on the table saw.
I'm going to try to clean up a little bit of this on the bandsaw again. Just slow cuts, and then we'll have to clean it up on the spindle sander afterwards. Alright, that's as much as I can get on this bandsaw. It doesn't have quite the power to make these turns with this blade. So we got it all shaped out. Now we just got to round off the corners. So the corners don't chip off when we're using it. So we got a completed deadlift jack. We added some more supports, so it's a little more stable and isn't as likely to tip. So compare the two. Here's the first one. Worked decently well. This is just a quick one done on a table saw. There's a side-by-side comparison of the two. So that's how I made my deadlift jack. I saw a design. No, this isn't my design. I saw it online, but it's too much of a pain in the ass to ship it from the UK during COVID, and didn't want to wait for it. Plus, I have the ability to make it myself, so I figured I'd make it myself. But here's a quick little tutorial of how I made it.